Compared to what Les Stroud does, I can imagine going for 6 days because one was brutal.
Came into it not knowing, what the hell we were getting into.
You're freezing, you're trying to get a fire going, can't sleep.
One day of it, multiply that by 7, I would be in for a little bit of trouble.
In the heart of the northern Canadian boreal forest, there lies the small town of Hornpain, Ontario. Built because of the railroad, it survives in the middle of some of the toughest bush on Earth. Survival here is simply a way of life. There's no better place to bring a group of tough individuals. Hockey players. Tough guys used to a life on the road, where the survival is in the battle on the ice rinks of North America.
Wish me luck.
But there's no ice here. No after-game autographs to sign. There'll be no rest and no way out. The wilderness has broken many a strong man. It's my job to see just how far they can be pushed. And it's all in the name of charity.
What they've had a problem with here now is they're so far behind the other small communities that they play that they have to go out of town actually to rent ice, which is really hard to believe. There's some grandparents that can't see their grandkids play, so we're going to build a raised viewing area for those in wheelchairs, and the roof needs a lot of repairs. It needs some patch-up work, so that is why we're here, guys.
And we couldn't have a better reason, but now it's time for the challenge.
Tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, when you show up to me, you show up with only your clothing, your bush clothes. That's it.
And just like in the schoolyard, the boys line up against a wall, and 5 team leaders pick their players. Named after their corporate sponsors, 4 groups of 3 and 1 group of 4 square off for the challenge of a lifetime. Team Ford, the experienced ones. Team Future Shop, the big guys. Team Coleman, the intense pack. Team Bearskin Airlines, the jokers. And Team Columbia, the youth squad. Before I send these guys off into the bush, I promised them a bit of time teaching some last-minute basics.
Everything about survival is ugly and miserable and just not a pretty sight. It's no joke that for me, on day 3, day 4 of my 7 days in the bush, I quit every time. I'm like sitting there going, what the hell am I doing this for? There's a lot of reasons why I'm out there, and a lot of it's for the love of it, but the fact is, it sucks enough that even for me on day 3, day 4, I still want to go home. So let's get into some skills. To me, the best thing you can take in a survival situation, an absolute sure way of getting a fire going. So split into your groups. I want a fire that's still burning small when I come over to you.
Survival in a class is easy, so smiles and laughter are constant. But the reality of survival is not fun. So they need to take these lessons well, or suffer.
You've got 15 minutes to make me the nicest looking one-man shelter you can go for.
Fire and shelter are aspects of survival they're going to have to at least be competent at if they expect to escape a miserable night in the northern bush.
Last minute of play of the game!
Hang the room key on our shelter.
How's it gonna do for rain, you think? Is it sheltering you, Brad?
He's not averse to wet. Not so good.
Is he hiding?
No, dry as a bone.
Thunder sound, please.
Turn around, brother.
Oh, that's sweat. That's sweat. The reality of you guys being out there and where you're going, it's like I'll be on edge until Sunday morning, because there is definitely reality elements to what is going on here this weekend and what you've got to do out there. There's definitely some stuff to take serious. I can tell you that some of you are going to be going out by airplane. That's how far you're going.
I don't want to know anymore.
So your challenge is to be dropped off, just the clothing on your back. First, make it to the first waypoint. When you get to the first waypoint, you have a choice to make. There's going to be a container there, and the container is going to have 5 items. You can take 2. Then you carry on to waypoint number 2. You get to waypoint number 2, and yet again, a container, and yet again, 5 objects, and a choice of 2. All right, you got to make that choice. The next waypoint will take you to, for example, that spot right there. That's where we want you to land. So each team is going to have a cameraman with them. He's going to go with you, self-contained on his own. So that is the gist of how everything is going to happen tomorrow.
This is their challenge, and it's the big league of survival. Each team is taken to a different drop-off point where either a small plane or a boat waits to carry them into the heart of the wilderness. There are no safety lines, no sat phones or radios they can use to call for help. All know where they are thanks to satellite GPS units each team is given. The 5 teams were each assigned a cameraman, and where they're going is as remote as it gets.
It's a tough crowd here in Horn Plain.
Morning fog is keeping the planes from getting an early start, so 2 teams use rock, paper, scissors to see who flies first and gets a jump on surviving.
I like to throw rocks.
They come down about 20 after there, and then they all get their fishing licenses.
3. Okay, I throw paper and I got cut. Okay. Okay.
Anyways, they're on their way
1,
in, so
2, 3.
all our hockey players are. They're
Not
all
a
on
chance
their
I do
way,
it 3.
so-
Okay, yeah, sure. 1,
Okay.
2, 3.
Bye.
Ah.
I know I'm a big shooter.
Here we go. Game 7. Game 7. 1, 2, 3.
And with that, a harmless game of chance gives Brad May's team a 4-hour head start on getting into the bush and affecting their very survival.
This is our drop-off point. Question is, do we take our boots off out of the boat so we don't get wet, guys? What do you think? Make the leap. It's unbelievable. Guys, thank you for the ride over. Not a problem. We'll see you on the other side.
I'll see you tomorrow morning.
This is sick.
Hey, the mark of a true outdoorsman, guys, is listening and accumulating information that you can use in dire circumstances. And I think our team...
Fountain of knowledge.
On the first few miles of their journey, each team has to find its way to 2 separate caches of survival items. And once there, they've got to make a smart choice. They can only take 2 items from the collection of gear they find. A choice that can make the difference between a dry, comfortable night or a cold, miserable one.
You got everything? You're all set?
Yep.
Thanks, man.
Adrenaline is running high. It's still just an adventure for them at this point. They're not thinking about being cold and wet, of being awake all night just to keep a small fire going. They're not yet thinking of survival.
Here it begins.
All the men knew they were here to help the local arena with a charity event, but none of them really knew what they were getting themselves into, and I wasn't about to make it easy on them. As they travel in, the men are stepping out of their comfort zones. One by one, the teams make their way into their own trailhead, into the wilderness. None of the routes will be a walk in the park.
Time for everything, eh?
Uh-oh, hornet's nest, guys. Seriously.
See, R401 is up here. R411 is back here.
Well, it's a long way out of our way if we don't... Maybe we go the wrong one.
The teams have a GPS with coordinates to lead them to 2 survival gear caches, where they have to make a choice of which 2 items out of 5 they'll take with them to aid in survival. It'll be hours before they make it to the first cache.
No one's kidding about the thick bush.
This is the course we want, right here. It's right on the line. Perfect.
Am I right to say?
Looks good to me, man.
Bang on.
Just follow this bear trail.
NHLer Brian Muir is an experienced hunter and brings his own wilderness knowledge as an advantage for his team.
Pretty good. You got a pretty good bed right here. This is a decent-sized bear, I'll tell you that. See, there's black fur right there.
I wonder which way we go here.
Team Ford has an advantage with an existing trail nearby. But Alexei Ponikarovsky, Steve Montador, and Mike Fountain, the youth squad, have a thick wall of green to push through.
Yeah, we're right on it. See, Mike? Excellent. Come on, let's do it. Right there, do it.
You can see how easy it would be to be able to get lost and if you didn't have the proper knowledge or instrumentation to be able to get you around.
Best part about it, Daryl, is we're ready for the challenge, bud.
Well, I love it that we have a pilot in our group and navigation is what he's all about, so hopefully we can now find him because I can't hear him anymore. Cheers.
Have you guys even found any bugs? I don't even think there's bugs in Ontario.
I kind of think the bugs are kind of like the Stanley Cup. They kind of want to stay away from the Maple Leafs.
Oh, Daryl. Not in our future, buddy. Our near future.
I'm pretty sure. It looks like somebody's walked right through here. Everything's kind of beaten down. Hope it's the guy that left our treats, and I hope it wasn't us.
Follow you.
Kris King and his gang begin to get worried that they're running in circles through some of the thickest bush on the planet.
These are the red ones. Red, Les said, is good. Black is bad.
What do they taste like?
I don't know. Let's taste one and see. You know what? They're good. They're really good.
Wait a minute.
They're delicious.
Almost all of the teams are coming across the poisonous Clintonia borealis, and they're tempted to eat the berry that looks remarkably like a blueberry.
But we should test them anyway just to be safe.
Yeah, we'll give them Toto.
As you can see, I have no idea what these berries are. I'm not even gonna guess. So if you don't know, you don't eat. That's the rule.
How we doing?
Bunch berries. Bunch berries. I'm pumped up, fired up, ready to go.
What do you think of these?
Now, you know what? Are they blueberries? I just peed there, though.
Yeah, those are probably blueberries.
I just peed
Those
there.
are blueberries.
Let's all eat one, so if we all get something, we're all good.
I'm not too sure.
Guys,
Why do they taste so bad? They taste so good from the store.
Sure, guys. You know what?
That might have been the blackberry you weren't supposed to eat.
Finally, each team makes it to gear cache number 1. And now, it's decision time.
Hey! We got a knife. We got beef jerky.
Map of... Okay, this seems very pointless because we have this.
We have a picture of Les Stroud and matches.
Les Stroud. So we're allowed to take 2 things out of this.
I'm assuming the pot counts as one.
We got to open this up. We have instructions here.
There's
the book of matches.
the book of matches, and it's got something. It says something from Les.
It says fire starter.
Okay. Don't need a pocket knife.
Yeah, but this looks cooler.
It looks like a signed picture, Les.
You sweat, you die. Around the bush.
This is almost too. This is too good to be true, right?
Yeah.
This is really good.
Take advantage of it.
Well, I vote definitely the saw, and I take the pot.
You vote saw and pot?
Yep.
You don't want a knife?
Well, we can break trees.
We have our two. We have
knives, and we can break trees.
Got her, boys. I think this is a definite yes. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd say saw for sure. Pot we have to carry.
Strap it onto the backpack. It's fine.
Well, what are we going to benefit from this pot?
What are we gonna use it for?
Yeah, how are we going to benefit?
You can make tea.
I'm not drinking. Who cares about tea? But I guess we can boil water.
This is like my old SK6000 when I played for Detroit.
Brian Muir, Paul Goldberg, and Mark Suchuk are caught in a tough debate.
No, but it's Bush League. We can make tea. You want to win? If we make tea and drink tea tonight...
It's a competition.
Yeah, it is. Someone wins, Goldie.
Stop.
Choices you make from this are very important in winning.
Extra weight. We don't need to boil water.
I will carry that.
We don't need tea.
I will carry that.
Oh, okay, but what do we need it for?
The smell so good.
Are you guys that hungry?
Beef jerky.
And we got a camera so we can take a picture of this.
That's a good call.
Good call.
Brilliant.
So we don't need that.
Yeah.
We don't need the.
So the beef jerky.
We don't need the beef jerky.
No, I don't want it. So I would take the knife. The pot's brilliant because we can make tea tonight.
And I like the saw.
Meanwhile, Team Ford and Team Bearskin Airlines have both figured out how to cheat by using their cameras to take pictures of the maps.
Beef jerky?
We have the pot. We actually utilized the other stuff because we took a picture of the map, so we don't need the map.
Let's take the bucket and the saw, obviously. Bucket,
okay, bucket saw.
Bucket saw.
Alexei Ponikarovsky and his team characteristically make a quick decision and keep pushing on through.
They're giving us food.
All right.
And this is,
Well, I don't
this is
know,
hard to carry.
Knife, I agree.
It's my opinion.
Knife,
That's
I
my
agree.
opinion. And if I got outvoted, I got outvoted. I should have picked some skinnier guys.
I still think,
Come on, make your mind up.
We can make mint tea. We can make raspberry leaf tea. We could.
And that's gonna win.
I'm telling you, it will. I'm telling you, it will. Everyone is gonna take this. Every single person.
This other stuff, actually, it's not part of the pot. It's not part of the cache. So we're going to utilize this orange ribbon that's hanging, because anything we find in the bush, less said, is fair game. It's all about survival.
Are you guys that hungry? Can you not go for 24 hours?
We don't need to eat today. That's why we.
Okay, so if you don't need to eat, give me the pot. You just said it. You don't need to eat. Give me the pot.
What are we gonna do with the pot?
The pot.
We don't need to boil water.
Okay, we can make.
We don't need to make tea.
It's not about needing. We're in here for a day. I could be buck naked and live till tomorrow.
I know.
So they gave us certain things. I just want to win. That's all I want to do.
Make it interesting.
So
I want to win.
Taking the pot will make us win.
Yes.
Oh my God! Can't see anything. Too far in front of you, 20 feet probably. Visual. Mike, you can barely see him up there.
Pop can here, boys. I think we could saw this in half and use it on the fire tonight.
The boreal forest begins to challenge the teams physically. This is some of the thickest forest on the planet.
Excellent news.
Hey, Tom, just walk right through it.
No way. Little taste of heaven here in the wild.
Some raspberries, so good find.
Rose hips, raspberries. Doesn't get any better than this. We just gotta
nuts?
find some blueberries, yeah.
Hazelnuts.
Bee hazelnuts, that's what they're called.
How would Les put that? What's he call
Oh, these are wild edibles, we call those.
It's all red. Yeah. Is those cameras waterproof? Okay, boys. Got a little nutrition?
As appetites grow for these athletes, they're smart to take advantage of any food they can find.
All right, red tape, boys.
All right.
And a lake on our left.
Finally, a few more hours of hiking, and the teams begin to find their second cache and their second set of choices to make.
I'm ready for it. Let her rip.
As you can see, we're coming up to an area that's been staked out with some orange tape.
Starting to rain, Daryl. It is starting to rain, buddy. We gotta start getting thinking about fire and dry stuff. Because if we don't get it, we're screwed.
Okay.
All right, give me an inventory what's in this bag.
We got a fishing rod. Looks like a bag of rice. There's a cup, an axe, and a tarp.
You think it's gonna rain tonight?
The laughter that dominated the survival class and the first few hours of the adventure begins to subside, and the reality of the survival situation takes over.
There it is over there. You can see her through the trees.
So we're taking the tarp and taking the reel.
Yep.
Everybody good with that?
Yep.
Yep. Well, after a rocky start, we're kind of clicking along.
We got thrown for a loop there with the RF1 and the RF11.
I think landing on the beaver dam threw us off.
You know it's not a good start when you land on the beaver dam and you step right on a hornet's nest.
We can do this for 2 lean-tos.
No, wait, but the difference is we have to sleep separately.
Do we
No,
have to?
we don't have to.
We don't have to. We have enough time. We can make one for 3 people.
I thought the rule was. I would have never come on this trip if I couldn't sleep with you guys.
Yeah.
I think my vote is tarp and rice.
Tarp and rice?
What do you say?
As we're gonna go into this night, I think honestly, being cold and wet maybe, that tarp's gonna come in huge.
Checkpoint 2.
Checkpoint Charlie.
Took 2 hours to get here. It wasn't fun at all. But here's the bag, and we're gonna find out what's inside right now.
I'm thinking rice and fishing reel.
Rice and fishing reel. I'm agreeing with that.
Is the tarp cover our shelter in the rain
But
more
I think
important than fish?
I personally think we can build a good shelter.
We've got rice to eat.
We got rice to eat. I think we can build a good shelter. And then we gamble with this and see if it works.
No, it looks like it's just a regular H2O, boys.
Can we drink it and leave the bottle? Is that an item?
Here's the deal. We get disqualified after the fact and we live till tomorrow. Let's have a little sip, boys.
Yeah.
Seriously, we don't have to take it. We just drink it.
He said you can't take it with you. If there's water, we can drink it.
Oh, it's water.
We just can't take it with us.
Talk to me,
Dig
dudes.
in, bud.
The item's the bottle, but what's inside the bottle, irrelevant. Little victory drink, boys.
The water for
Once again, the same two teams found a way to cheat the system.
I think we outsmarted Survivorman on this one. I really do. I'm actually really proud of myself.
There it is. Les Stroud.
Les Stroud.
All right.
Fishing. We got rice.
We could boil some rice tonight, boys, if we have in water.
Boil rice and tarp because we got water. So consensus?
Yeah.
Rice and tarp.
Decisions like these aren't that easy to make. Whether to accept hunger over cold, warmth over having a saw. Decisions are the hardest part of survival. Brad Sherman and his team are the first to make it to their final pre-assigned GPS coordinate.
Now we're talking.
And they're in luck. They've landed on a beach. Now it's my turn. Using miles and miles of rough bush trails, I'm making my way into each team, traveling by quad bike and on foot to check on their progress.
Trail at all. We cut down a bunch of blowdowns. It's gonna be interesting how it must be for the guys out there trying to make it through this stuff.
This must be a joke. We're here. There's no rocks, there's no nothing. We can't do anything, can't even light a fire here.
No. Kris King and his men are not so lucky. Their final GPS coordinate leads them to a spruce bog, and this is where they'll have to survive. But Brad May and his team have problems of their own.
Oh my God, guys. We have to move. We actually have a couple of residents already here.
You're gonna let a little friggin' beehive like that scare you?
That doesn't scare you, bud? Look at them.
You guys want to start at the lean-to and I'll start the fire?
Start clearing? I'll start clearing. No, me and you firewood. We get a fire going.
Each team was given a small knife and a flint stick for fire. But if you're not used to it, it can be a tough way to get a fire going.
If it starts raining, we are screwed. Holy shit. Okay, if there's any pressure, it's now.
16 men, hardened athletes, along with a few corporate heads, have volunteered to survive for charity. And now they find themselves in a remote area of the Canadian boreal forest. They've all been brought in by plane or by boat to trailheads where they were given 3 GPS coordinates. The first 2 coordinates led them to survival gear caches where they had to choose only 2 out of 5 items to take as aids for survival. The trails to each of those 2 caches were long, hard treks through thick bush.
Look at that, boys. Fire starter right there.
The third portion of the bushwhacking leads them to a tiny spot near water where they have to survive the night. Shelter building and fire starting are their priorities now.
Twigs. Go, those 2.
Thunderstorms are looming in the distance, but the men don't know that yet.
And this one, put it there. Perfect. Done.
There it goes. There it goes. Here it goes. Got it? Timber!
Every team gets down to business with only a few daylight hours left, but storms are on the way. If they've remembered the lessons in shelter building I gave them, they at least stand a chance at a dry night. Getting increasingly worn out by a lack of food and wet from the bushwork, the face of survival is harsher than they were expecting.
Coming together here, boys. Remember I said my feet weren't wet? You're lying? I lied like a bastard. I am soaked.
We're heading down to Team Columbia. Alexei, Steve, and Mike. That's the young squad, the young boys. You can see how they're making out. Be careful with this fire, about it going deep, because this is spruce root territory. This is the type of thing we talk about where the roots can catch. So you want to sort of be careful of that fire.
But we weren't sure with it being so wet, it could still catch.
That'll help. These little guys here, that's creeping snowberry. So watch for the creeping snowberry. Great little things to munch on.
Nice.
Raspberry leaves for your tea, right?
We got a lot of berries. We're gonna go back to.
The raspberry is like unbelievable there.
The tall blue ones,
yeah,
they're poisonous.
Okay.
Don't touch them. It's Clintonia borealis.
What about the red ones that are in bunches? You said yesterday they were cool?
The red ones that are in bunches, like together, in the central, with the leaves all coming out from it. Bunch berries, yeah.
They're decent? They're good?
Yeah.
Okay.
The trek into each of the team locations is no easier for me than it was for them. But I've got to make sure they're all going to make it. It'll take me all day to get in and out of the team locations using old logging roads and existing hunting trails.
Should only be a few hundred meters from Team Ford, and with any luck at all, they'll be where they're supposed to be.
Brad Sherman, Tom Warren, and Otto Ekinger have found themselves in a choice location on the side of a remote lake.
So how are you guys hanging in?
We cut wood, we've got some nice joists and beams, and we've decided we can all live in one shelter.
Oh, you tied off with somebody's shoestring?
My shoe, these are 4-footers, so I got it next to one too, and then we'll take it off tomorrow.
One thing that I used to do for rope all the time as well, if I didn't want to sacrifice my shoelace, if you cut a string off of the bottom of your t-shirt, cut another string off, you can twist them together. Bang.
Great idea.
Twisted, strong rope. I'm not going to stay here much longer. We're gonna head out and check on the rest of the groups. But so far, major bonus points. You guys are hanging in there. All right, not bad at all. One thing I didn't tell them was, with all that firewood there, what might have been a good idea was actually to light the fire now anyway. They don't know for sure they're going to get that fire, so they would want to get it going now would be the better thing, and just keep putting big logs on it to keep their coals, because it might not be raining now, but it could be pouring later.
As the reality of their survival begins to become clear, the men begin to understand a little of what I go through.
Gotta love you, Les. Where are you?
The tarp looks like a little bit handy.
You know, I bet you a million people say to Les that you got the coolest job, but sometimes it's like, you spend a week in this, see how you feel.
Okay, we're actually in the middle of the lake right now, and it's bucketing down, and we got lightning happening, and this is not a good place to be. In the middle of a lake in a small tin boat with a faulty motor with a massive lightning storm overhead and the rain pouring down. So hopefully we'll make it to that next group real quick.
Until now, Brad May, Daryl May, and Mike Cross have been the team with the most boisterous and fun-loving attitude. But it's the team I'm most concerned about. Mother Nature's indifferent to your survival.
You know, that's funny. You know, that's one of the hidden dangers in the bush that is one of the trickiest ones for me to come across when I'm out there surviving is hornet's nest, wasp nest. Because you got nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, right? So yeah, I might be inclined to say I'll move even 100 feet away and you're good to go. All right, boys. Daryl? Good luck, man.
Thank you.
We're heading out.
Thank you.
We're heading out.
Thank
Good luck. The night's coming in.
You got it.
And you got some stuff to deal with here, man. I'm going to lead you to it because you're not as far along as you think, and the night is closer than you think.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Get rocking. Bearskin Airlines chose the tarp and jerky back haul, in my opinion. I mean, they could have taken the saw, and they would be able to clear away branches really easily, get the shelter made. Instead, they opted for a little bit of jerky over that. Ooh, I don't know. Knowing that you're going to get out of here tomorrow, too, I think I would have left the jerky behind and gone for the saw. So they didn't even, and then they didn't take the axe in the second location. They took the tarp and the rice. So these boys followed their stomachs over their minds, I think, in terms of what they should have taken. We'll see how they fare.
Once things turn this wet, the danger of hypothermia is very real. I can't get the men out of this bush in the night, and hypothermia can kill even the most fit of individuals. The game has become real. Brian Muir, Paul Goldberg, and Mark Suchuk had opted not to take a tarp, a decision they're regretting now. But to their credit, they've made some very strong shelters and managed to keep a good fire going in this downpour.
I'm worried about how wet you are. You're soaking wet. You know what that means 6 hours from now? Cold. Yeah, but you got a killer fire going. No fire for Team Ford. No fire for Team Bearskin Airlines. So they're gonna have to get their fires going now. My new star cameraman came out here without a raincoat. Strip that shirt off and then...
I couldn't allow one of my own camera crew members to become a liability for the team.
Thank you. Good luck. Good on your head. Keep the heat in. I'd rather you be hot than cold. Just don't sweat. You sweat, you die.
16 men, miles from safety and civilization, in the middle of the northern Canadian forest, struggle to survive for only 24 hours in some of the thickest bush on the planet. Professional hockey players, trainers, and businessmen have volunteered to take on my challenge in the name of charity. They're learning now that survival is no joke. Two of the teams are learning a lesson the hard way about getting a fire going early.
Get it on. Guys' hands are gonna get burned, boys.
Stick. Need more stick.
All right. So we've had a little bit of a problem here with our fire.
But you got to get the
So often, people underestimate the importance of getting a fire going early and keeping it going. It can be the difference between survival or death.
Oh, now you're talking. Now you're talking.
And as cavalier as these guys are being about it, they got lucky. The rain stopped.
Even a slug or something. I think there'd be something in here. Nice.
Sorry, bud. Yeah, I'd eat that. Hey, if I was a fish, I'd eat that.
Making a hook and a floater out of an old pop can, Kris King, the hometown favorite, is thinking about food. He's using his well-honed fishing skills he learned while growing up in this region. Meanwhile, all the teams are having equipment problems.
Yeah, it's rotten up here.
Our saw broke.
Put a new one in anyways.
We rigged something up here. We thought, as a team, that we could probably line this up and shoot a stick through one side, a thin stick. Ready? Yep. That's in. She works.
Nearing the end of the day, I finally make it through the bush to the last team. Kris King, Brendan Morrison, Todd Empry, and Steve Miller, the only team with 4 members, had the longest trek through the bush out of all the teams. But they're strong and they're thinking smart about their own survival.
You're the last group that we've checked on. Okay. We've been to them all. They've all made it to their destination. A little worried about some of the groups with hypothermia. I'm worried about the Maisie boys on hypothermia, and I'm worried about the last group, Columbia, on hypothermia. You guys are doing the right thing. You're taking the time to dry off. The best thing you guys can do now is get everything as dry as you can. Maybe sacrifice 1 or 2 guys for firewood. Get lots of firewood. For the group that's gone and the longest in the bush, you've actually got probably the strongest, best setup going on.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Thanks again for having us, eh?
I'll see you back on the ice.
Son of a bitch, I can't wait to get you back on the ice.
The long, hard day turns to night, and I've made it back to base camp, and I leave the men to the mercy of the night.
That's about it. We've checked on all the groups now, all 5 groups, and they're doing not so bad actually at all. But you know, if you've seen what I do, this is fine at this moment, at this point. Spirits are still high. It's starting to get dark. That sun's going to start dropping. It's going to drop fast. When the sun goes down, mosquitoes are going to come out extremely thick, and that's going to be hard on them, I'm sure. The other thing I've got a lot to worry about here is just how hypothermic these guys might become. They're strong lads. They're all healthy guys, but a lot of them are drenched to the bone. Now, the last group that we saw, Team Future Shop, were doing great. They were drying their clothes. They were doing the right thing. But I'm worried about some of these other groups. I'm worried about Team Bearskin. Worried about Team Coleman, I think it was. So hopefully these guys will dry themselves out and they'll make it through the night. But the bugs are going to be bad.
10 hours into their survival challenge, and 5 teams made up of hockey players, trainers, linesmen, and corporate heads have, in this short time, seen what it's like to push through thick bush, to make and keep a fire going in a torrential downpour, and now finally, thanks to the choices they made at survival caches along the trail, they can try to gain some comfort with a little bit of rice. The teams are learning a valuable lesson on how a small bit of food can represent a huge psychological boost, and these guys are used to big meals.
That's good news.
Once again, the northern weather shows its true self and the skies open. Survival is not about sitting back and waiting for bad weather. It's about constantly preparing for it. And the kind of night these men will have depends entirely on how much effort they've put into the day.
2 hours, still raining.
Oh, it'd be so nice without the rain.
Ironically, the supreme fitness level of these athletes is the one thing that has me worried. I've always found that people with a little more fat on their bones do better in the bush when it gets cold. It may be midsummer, but we're pretty far north. And with rain pouring for hours, hypothermia is a serious concern. I can't get them out of here at night. They're completely on their own now.
So you want to know what you do when you're in the bush with 4 guys. Well, this isn't what we do. That, to me, resembles spooning.
You burnt my boot. I asked you not to burn my boot. It's so dark right now and I can see my tongue burnt. I'm so angry right now. Like, how are your boots?
It's easy knowing yesterday what we're doing, knowing we're going out today. Easier.
Do you move on? Is this your camp? You know, if you're really lost?
Yeah. No, you have to move on. You have to do that. Every day you have to, you know, make some progress.
Few of these men will sleep tonight. Few people ever do in a survival situation. You're lucky if you get 20-minute naps before a chill wakes you up and reminds you of where you are. The only comfort they have now is the fire and each other.
Right on line. 309, big ol'.
We made it through a night. Goldie.
Let's go.
Let our homeward trek begin.
The night finally over with, the men aren't wasting any time at all in getting up and making their way out of the bush. The last thing anyone wants here is to spend another minute surviving. Few have slept, and the only way to knock the night chill out of the body is to get moving.
Buddy, we made it.
We made it.
Now, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers to go through harsh terrain.
They always say accidents happen when you're closest to the home.
Following preset GPS coordinates, each team makes their way towards various rendezvous points to be picked up by truck and driven out on logging roads back to base camp.
Here's the road, boys. Nice and wet.
I don't know, which direction you guys want to go?
As the morning brightens, the teams are still faced with a long trek out to a rendezvous point. Team Future Shock was first in.
Cheers, boys. Job well done.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Okay. All right, you guys good to go?
Yeah. Winners, Team Coleman.
Aloha!
Good morning, good morning.
We did.
Miles from base camp, Brad May, his brother Daryl, and Mike Cross are not back yet, and they're having trouble. More trouble than they even realize.
You got one other team back, and we got another team coming out here, so I'm gonna head in and wait for them. We'll see you in a bit.
That's Team Columbia and Team Ford coming down the road.
Those boys are all gonna walk back. They got some serious pride going on.
Refusing to jump in the pickup truck, the youngest team and the oldest team opt to keep walking their way into base camp on their own steam. Athletes until the end.
This is unbelievable. I can't even walk. Like, honest to God, you can't even take one step, any foot in any direction without having a tree branch or tree stem in your way. This sucks. Thanks, Les.
One by one, the teams have found their way out, but not Brad May's team. Now this charity event quickly turns into a possible emergency. To be lost out in this bush is no joke.
All right, so actually we got a real situation here going on right now. Team Bearskin Airlines, Brad May and his brother and Mike are still missing. They're missing in action, so we're going to maybe have to go into search and rescue mode because Jerry, one of our guides here, has gone out to try and find them, and still no sign of them. Every half hour we give them is another half hour of travel. They could be getting farther away, right? Yeah. If those guys aren't found right now and he's almost at their camp, this is not going from fun TV time anymore. We're going into something real here, so I got to make sure.
What do you think, as navigator? How far off are we?
We gotta go there.
Yeah, we're just
Where
doing
would
an
you-
arc.
Okay. It's hot, sticky. This blows.
Come on, Jerry.
Brad May and his men are lost. In a bizarre twist of geography, their GPS unit has been affected by the magnetic current in this area, and it's leading them off trail. We have a local guide who's traveled this bush extensively while hunting, and he's headed in to try to find them.
You think we're going left?
No, we're going this way, straight away. Straight ahead. So right.
Jerry, we do not copy. We do not copy. Repeat, please. Over.
They're over there.
Not even realizing how lost they are,
Could be the other guys.
Brad and his team hear a distant sound.
Hello?
Is it a test to see who? Do you go to the voice? It's getting closer.
Yep. Hello?
Don't you think he'd yell and say, "Come this way"? We supposed to be coming to you?
That's our guide.
We're over here.
Finally, 3 hours after realizing they were lost, our local guide, Jerry Smith, makes his way through the thick bush, right to the team.
Repeat. You've got him. You've got him. Repeat.
These guys had a good night. Their spirits are up. They're doing great. They'll walk out or take a ride, whatever you guys think we should do.
Copy that. Thanks for that reassurance, Jerry. Thanks for getting in there and found him. All right, we're good to go. Over. That's good.
You guys had the biggest walk in the morning to get out of here, right? I told you I was going to come get you, so damn if I wasn't.
Survival. Even for fun, even for charity, it's still survival.
I just don't want to walk anymore.
The cold is still hard to handle. No food, and you still become weak. No sleep, and your judgment is still impaired. These men got off lucky. It was, after all, only one night. But a night of survival is a night you never forget. The hockey players and corporate sponsors left behind a great financial gift for the local arena in the town of Hornpayne, Ontario. Oh, and my choice for the winning team? Well, that goes to the hometown favorite, Kris King and the boys of Team Future Shop. Now the men can go back to their arenas, their star athlete treatment, and their busy schedules. But they take with them a new perspective on survival, one that will last a lifetime.